Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning into the Financial Investor channel. My name is Brent, and today we're going to be doing our stock market weekly recap for October 8th through the 12th. We're going to be discussing last week's changes in the market. We're going to take a look at this week's changes as far as the four main indexes, my portfolio changes for the week. Take a look at some stock futures, some of the most active stocks here in the after hours, then go over a bunch of stocks that were discussed in the market, stocks that are bankrupting, stocks that beat their revenue, stocks that were upgraded this week, and talk a little bit about some financials. I know Friday some financials started the report, so we'll discuss a few of those. And then we're going to go ahead and end it talking about oil, silver, gold, bonds, and the new yield. So that's what's in store for today. If you are brand new to the channel, I do make stock market, personal finance, and real estate investment videos weekly. So consider subscribing for future videos. So I have a playlist on my YouTube channel called the Stock Market Weekly Recaps. Here I can visually just look at the playlist and say, okay, over these last 2 weeks, last week was pretty negative, but before last week, we had some mixed signals. Prior to that, pretty much everything here was almost in line for the last few weeks. We can see positive, little mix here, but at least it was flat almost across the board. S&P 500 flat, NASDAQ was basically flat. Dow Jones and Russell looks like they gained a little bit there. I gotta stop using red besides. Red and green are like my ones I gotta just primarily use for ups and downs, but these last few weeks have been mixed. The Dow Jones was up 2.25, whereas the S&P was only up 0.85. The NASDAQ and the Russell were in the red. So just the last couple weeks have been a little bit of a mixed market there. Last week we started to see a little bit of a fall going into the negative for the first time. S&P down 0.97, Dow Jones down 0.04, NASDAQ down 3.21, the Russell fell 3.8, and then my portfolio had fell by 0.43. So this week, we all took a little bit harder hit. Going over quickly what was posted on my Facebook page. This is the only thing I'm going to try and share with you guys is that revenue is going to play a huge part going into earnings season towards the end of the year as interest rates are rising, the dollar is getting stronger, debt is getting more expensive. If companies are not able to raise their revenue by at least 5% or more over the last year, maybe even more. You can see here Delta, I thought this was interesting. Delta was able to raise their revenue by 8%. This was all driven by strong demand and surge in premium ticket sales, whereas oil prices are rising. They were able to offset that by increasing their ticket sales, their premium ticket sales. So look for revenue. Make sure if you are holding individual stocks, make sure that they are, they have good financials behind them. So Friday earnings, we're going to be discussing a few of these. We had First Republic before the market opens, Citigroup, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, PNC. I know PNC, that one tanked this morning down, I believe 5 or 6%. I'm not going to discuss this one too much, but JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, those are some of the ones that I generally track as far as the financials go. So yeah, JP Morgan, they beat revenue by 5% on the year on year, but they still, they went up slightly towards the beginning of the day and then trailed off and lost like 1% by the end of the day. So pretty interesting there. I made a couple buys today on Friday. So let's go ahead and talk about the markets. The S&P 500 rose up 1.42% on Friday. Out of the 5 days, down 4.10%. It basically lost half of what it had, over half of what it had actually made year to date. Year to date up 3.5%. The Dow Jones, 3 out of the 5 days negative. This drove down the Dow Jones down 4.18. People were making such a huge deal on Wednesday and Thursday. I put out videos on these days. I like to track these days for historical reference. Anytime the markets as a whole fall more than 1.5 or 2 points in each index, I'll try and make a video to kind of record it for historical reference and put it into a playlist. But we did have a bounce back on Friday. I believe we're settling. I was able to buy some shares on the dip on Friday. So I thought that was a great buying opportunity. So Dow Jones down 4.19. Year to date still up 2.51. The NASDAQ sold off. It was actually much worse than this just over the last few days, but due to Friday's nice little bounce back, now down 3.74. Year to date still up 8.6%. The Russell 2000 lost the most out of the 5 days here, down 5.23%. Debt here in the nation's getting more expensive, raising rates, tariffs, not only affecting overseas over in China, but also affecting local jobs. Companies that use those materials that are going to get tariffed and hit hard. Boeing, let's see here. We had Triple M. I know a lot of companies here in my portfolio have been kind of hammered within my wife's Roth IRA. I believe she may be in the positive right now after the Friday bounce back, but she had lost a good portion of what she had made year to date, which is, it's fine. Just cheaper stocks out there. Current stock futures are currently looking positive going to Monday. Monday is usually a negative day, but we have so much negativity behind us that I believe Friday we're going to be going pretty good forward. We've had Friday we had a couple financials do their earnings. We're expecting, I believe, around 90 stocks doing earnings. The one I'm watching for is Kimberly-Clark. I believe they're going to do good. This is one of the ones in my wife's Roth IRA and, shareholder there. But, I think it's going to be a pretty decent one here. S&P 500, we've already kind of gone over the stock futures. Some of the most active stocks here, very little here in the negative. Everything's pretty positive. Apple continuing to move positive in the after hours. Microsoft took a huge hit this week. I know a couple of my friends own Microsoft. Intel moving it positive. AMD, AT&T, Comcast, Sirius Holdings, Qualcomm, Coca-Cola. So interesting stocks. I know a lot of investors out there were looking at DuPont and Triple M of the dividend investors. So interesting. We're seeing a lot of positive movement here in the after hours. So going into Monday, you're going to see some stocks that have jumped up over the weekend here. So first stock, General Electric, they started off very strong this Monday, up 3.26%. This is because they were upgraded. They got a brand new CEO over there. They actually decided to hold off on their earnings, releasing their earnings, due to that new CEO getting into the seat. So they did fall a bit further on Thursday and Friday. I believe that was due in part to them not doing their revenue. They wanted to have him kind of look over it, but they were upgraded to a price target of around $16. So we'll see how that kind of goes throughout time. But General Electric currently 5-day down 6.53, year to date down nearly 30%. Walmart was also in the news. I know I posted about it over here on my Facebook page, somewhere along there. Walmart this week, they came out Monday saying, hey, we're going to be partnering with partnered with MGM Studios. They're going to be producing content for Vudu, which is one of their streaming services that they've owned for a few years. Their partnership is going to try and produce the content on Vudu that's going to be able to try and hopefully compete with Netflix and Hulu and all those streaming services out there. So that really helped Walmart here at the beginning of the week. But towards the end of the week, as the sell-off on Wednesday and Thursday took place, Walmart did sell off. But look at this 5-day change up, still 1.61%. Year to date, Walmart is down 3.99%. Next, we have Tesla. Tuesday, Tesla's shares popped up on Tuesday by 4.89%. It was upgraded here to a price target of $430 a share. A analyst came out saying, hey, Tesla has the ability to disrupt the tech sector here for these automotive AI cars. They're seeing some confidence here just with the ability. It's like Apple back in the past. Motorola used to be the boss. Apple came out with these smartphones back in 2008, 2009, and they just kind of changed the world. I believe that's what Tesla's going to be doing to the electric car. It's going to take a few years. It's not going to be overnight, but you're going to see Tesla. I think Tesla will continue to trade higher. At $430 a share, that could be quite expensive, but prior to Elon's Musk, it's going to be taking the company private at 420. It was very close, just 20% off of there. So I can see Tesla moving at least to 430 within the next 6 months to a year, or longer, somewhere within that range. I can see that. Next, we have Delta Airlines. We talked a little bit about Delta Airlines this week. They released their earnings on Thursday. Better than expected. Revenue was up 9% year over year. They popped nearly 3.5% there. They beat earnings of around $1.80 per share, which beat expectations. They also beat revenue by about $100 million, causing the company to, they're increasing their guidance and their revenue numbers, which this is what everyone's kind of looking at as a whole. They want to see that companies are beating revenue because these high interest rates. They want companies to, put their guidance forward as having higher revenue. If companies come out and say, hey, we're lowering our revenue numbers, they're going to get hit pretty hard, at least 5 or 10%. That's my opinion there. So next we have Square. Square was a bloody mess this week. CFO announced that he would be leaving the company by the year end, and the shares just plummeted, losing 21.4% here just within the last 5 days. And if we go back over the last couple 2 weeks, if we take a look here just at the last 2 weeks here, why is this taking forever? There it goes. Okay, so this whole downtrend started at nearly $100 a share, and it's now trading at $73 a share. So that's a huge cut. That's nearly a 35% cut, if not more. That's more. Basically 100 minus 35%. That would actually put you at 75, but this is a little bit more. So definitely hurt Square. A lot of investors that I saw were, hey, Square's hitting all-time highs. It was on the news as having jumped up so high, and you can see the buy volume here. It was pretty high going up. So all those that kind of held it on the way down, that's unfortunate. So 5-day change down 21.4, year to date still up 113.35, but anyone that bought it on the hype got slammed. Here we have Sears. Sears announced this week or one of these other weeks that they're going to be basically filing for bankruptcy. Their stocks continue to sell off. They've kind of begun to skip paying out their vendors. So 5-day change, Sears down 35.6. This thing is basically trading at nearly nothing, at 40 cents a share, down 88.63% year to date. So if we go back year to date, they started off at nearly, a little over $3 this year. And there was a huge sell-off. Look at these spikes here. Huge sell-offs right around in May. Huge sell-off drying that stock price down. And then another huge sell-off just recently here, driving their stock way below $1. So I don't know who would be holding Sears at this point, but definitely hurtful. So next, we're going into our financials, taking a look at the banking sector. Let's go ahead and just look at the banking sector really quick before we jump over into the financials. So the financials did sell off 5.61%. This did cause them to go down to near their 200-day moving average. Going forward, I believe they're near their 200-day moving average. Actually, I'm not 100% sure there. I would have to check that on a score. But year to date, financials are beginning to do their earnings. A couple, 5 or 6 of them we talked about over on Facebook are doing it here on Friday. JP Morgan, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and a few others there were announcing, all pre-market. Mainly the one I was tracking was JP Morgan, which did do well. It moved up here and positive in the morning, but did trend lower through the day, ending in the negative by down 0.04. So not a huge loss on the day, but throughout the week, JP Morgan lost 6.69% just within the last 5 days. This is one I did pick up on, I believe I either picked it up last week or I picked it up this week, but it's unfortunate that I jumped into it and I got hit, but disclaimer, I owe JP Morgan. Year to date, only up 0.01. This one was the leader of the financials. It was up nearly 10%. I bought it on that dip after it came out with a lawsuit. See how it goes in the future here. Citigroup also announced earnings, so Citigroup closed down 0.09. So they released their earnings as well, coming in better than expected. The company said that bond trading revenue was a big supporter along with consumer banking businesses. So they're hoping to reduce their operating expenses and keep their margins in check, which is what that's what Wall Street wants to hear. They want to see that they're going to be able to keep their expenses low, raising their revenues, and we'll kind of see how it kind of goes forward. But 5-day change down 3.56%, year to date down 6.14. Wells Fargo was another one here that announced earnings. I'm really surprised out of JP Morgan and Citigroup that Wells Fargo is the one here that's actually positive. That could just be due to them being already down 14% on the year. But Friday, Wells Fargo announced that they came out with mixed earnings. Their revenue came out better than expected, and that they were doing some layoffs. They were cutting some costs to help their overall margins, which was, what kind of helped them out there. I don't know how this company does so well in the public light. I know they get hit with lawsuits all the time, signing up their members for all sort of unnecessary products and funds and such. So, but interesting. Wells Fargo up 0.36 on the day, 5-day change down only down 2.03. So interesting there. Berkshire Hathaway, this one got slammed here recently, down 5.77% on the week. Wednesday, this one was already trading at near highs, and I thought this was kind of an interesting one. It is part of the financials. If you take a look at XLF, it's one of their main portfolio weights at 12.74, but it just has got hammered recently. Look at this. They went from nearly a 200 and let's see, maybe 230 to 20 something, so very high, and currently trading at $206.80. So interesting one there. Going into home builders, homes continue to kind of, this is just a funny ETF, home builders ETF, down 6.24%. Not a whole lot of news around that. I know people are still worrisome of how these raising rates will affect the housing market. I know, I work at a credit union. We're not seeing a whole lot of people doing refinances. We're still seeing people do mortgages. Mortgages have kind of came down, but they're not usually the bread and butter of any sort of financial institution. Their bread and butter are their payday loans, their car loans, their, there's other, like the little mini loans. The people aren't afraid to take out debt on a $15,000-$20,000 car, so people are loading up, consumers are loading up on all this debt, and we're switching out. We're going to be doing some payday loans, and helping people pay off their debt. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then we had Citigroup. We already talked about Citigroup. So oil here, as you know, Wednesday sold off. You can go ahead and pause the video, take a look at this, but basically, Wednesday stock. The oil sold off here on Wednesday. It was down like 2.78% and then fell an additional 2.8% on Thursday. Continued to fall slightly here on Friday. It did pop up in the early morning, but then kind of continued to trail down and ended basically flat on the day, down 0.03. Dollar getting a little bit stronger. It was at 94.20 some, I believe, last week. It is now trading at 95.23. Actually, it looks like it may have came down. So interesting one there to watch. Normally, if the dollar is getting stronger, you can see that kind of silver and gold kind of bounce back. But this week, with the market the way it was, people were really discussing moving into silver and gold. I wouldn't buy it. It's kind of like a dead asset. It's like paper, or not paper. It's like money. It doesn't really make you a whole lot. You can hold it. And, I don't know where the bottom's at on this. It feels like it hit bottom just a few months ago down here in this range through September. But it could, it could come back. We don't really know if it's stabilized or not. Right now, as the market's kind of selling off, people have been moving here to gold. You can see gold on Thursday jumped up 2.57%. Silver on Thursday as well jumped up 1.64%. I know a lot of investors were discussing silver and gold here on the Facebook groups that I'm involved in, so I thought that was kind of interesting to kind of see people mention it and kind of saying, hey, I'm buying gold and silver, is anybody else doing this? And everybody's like, no, I'd rather keep in my dividend stocks. So I thought it was just a little trip there. Vanguard bonds, people are buying up these bonds with these rates, yields of 3.27, I think was a high. 3.22 is where it closed on Thursday. 3.14 is where it's currently at. On Thursday night, it closed at 3.13. On Wednesday night, it closed around 3.22. So it was at 3.27 during Wednesday's trading day. So kind of interesting there. So that is basically all I wanted to go over in today's weekly recap. Going over, again, we went over General Electric, Walmart, Tesla, Delta Airlines, Square, Sears going bankrupt, a couple of financials that did earnings this week. I actually picked up some shares this week. I bought Berkshire Hathaway here. If we flip back over the Berkshire Hathaway, I saw, I sold off a little bit of my shares of Apple because my IRA is pretty consolidated as far as Apple. I had 45 shares of Apple, which is basically my entire IRA. I decided, hey, I want to go ahead and take a little bit of profits, move it elsewhere. So I sold off my gains for Apple and moved them into Berkshire Hathaway at $205, or wherever my screenshot's at here. $205.05 a few times, and then $205 on the spot. So I was able to kind of lock in there. Berkshire Hathaway did do a bit of a bump, but no biggie over the short term. We'll see how it kind of plays out. Berkshire Hathaway, you know, it's Walmart, it's Warren Buffett's baby there. So that is it for this week's video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. If you guys learned something new talking about General Electric, Walmart, Tesla, the financials and such, let me know in the comment section below. If you guys have any stocks that you guys are watching, let me know in the comment section below as well. I know earnings season is coming up pretty big next week. If you head over and type in earnings, if I can spell it right, Yahoo. Why am I using Bing? Yahoo earnings. Interesting there. Here we can take a look at the earnings going into next week. So Monday, I don't know why it only says 4 earnings. There's much more earnings than that. So this could be completely off. I know. Oh, we're on. What's next week? 15th. Oh, there we go. That still seems slightly off. So maybe here it's kind of going weird. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I don't want to take too much of your time looking around and getting lost. So if you guys did enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up button below. Share it with your friends, family, other social media platforms. And if you are brand new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I make personal finance, real estate, and stock market videos every single week. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.